Yo, what up, friends?
From that to what is really blowing the professor's mind. What is blowing my mind this month, or this episode, rather? We just talked about the U.S. elections. How about the Venezuelan elections? Nicolas Maduro, in for trying to get a fourth term, bullying his way to a fourth term. Some would say corrupted his way to a fourth term. Some would say his opponent beat him. I don't know. This could be akin to what we had with the controversy with the U.S. election the last time. So, but what we do know is Nicolas Maduro is a dictator. That is what we know. We know that there are currently 100,000 people have defected from Venezuela within this year alone. Obviously, something's not right. Obviously, something is going wrong. The Venezuelan people are not. Their economy is down. Jobs are down. Unemployment is up. Crime is up. And so, the people are starting to fight back. They want a revolution. Will the revolution be televised? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But if it isn't, then you never get heard. So they're trying to make themselves heard. And wow, I mean, you see some of the stuff going on over there. It's crazy. Like they're firebombing and doing all this. Hold on, what if I say? No. I meant you three, not me. Come on now. They call me the sports professor for a reason. I'm talking about the other three on the show. Okay, talking about Blasphemous One. The other one who and some fella by the name of Dak Prescott. That's your own quarterback. What are you talking about? I'm just messing with Flo. Anyways, let me keep it moving. So the Venezuelan elections, obviously those people are trying to fight back to try to get their country back from this dictator, but this dictator's been there for a long time. Maduro's been in power for a long, long time. It's going to be very hard to get him out, as it is to get any dictator out. Some people may even equate him in this country to Trump. I'm not going to do that, but there are some people that would say that there are similarities. But the point is that when you have that dichotomy, when you have that divisiveness between two political parties or between two religions or races or whatever it is in this world, you're going to have these corruptions. You're going to have these butting of heads. You're going to have this violence and these wars. And right now we're seeing it not only in Venezuela, where, again, hospitals are being burnt, right? People are being killed. It's not something we want to see. We don't ever want violence like that in our world. But it's happening. Where else? It's happening all over the world, pretty much. But there's other things that are going on, kind of blowing my mind. And this is going to be a little bit of a touchier subject. And I'm a digital marketer. I teach digital marketing. I taught digital marketing for Vanderbilt for University and other universities around the country. I teach and run digital marketing programs. I consult for small businesses and for, athletes, musicians, all the sorts of things that I do that involve digital marketing, which involves social media, which involves websites. Digital marketing, social media, it is a blessing and a curse. It is a blessing that we have this technology that allows us to be able to communicate with each other so quickly, that allows us to get things done in a more expeditious and more efficient and effective manner. But it also harms us because it can be used for bad. Not to even mention getting into the AI stuff that we're on the verge of, but just people in their opinions and people wanting to be the first to have something to say about other things occurring in this world. So what are we talking about? Well, now we're talking about the controversy in the Olympics of the two female boxers. Algerian boxer Iman Khalif and Chinese boxer, let me get this right. I want to make sure I say this correctly. Xing, I'm sorry, I apologize for butchering this name, but Ching Chan, have both been cited as failing an unspecified test by the International Boxing Association for gender specificity, and that they were barred by the IBA from competing against other females in the female division. Now, why is this an issue? Well, first of all, before we even get into the issues of transgenderism or transgender athletes and where they fit in male versus female sports, before we even get into that, let's talk about the actual internet and the power that people hold and the power that we hold with this small device in our hands, right? I can easily go on Twitter right now and spout whatever kind of BS I want to spout. And I don't even have to be correct. And I don't even have to be researched. I don't even have to be nuanced. But that's not why you come here to the Mind of the Professor. You come here because I do weeks of research before I even come on here to make sure that you get the right information. I also give you both sides of the coin, both sides of the aisle, both sides of the situation so you can see it from both sides. And I also don't make any judgments for you. I let you make your own judgments and your own decisions. I don't put my judgments or decisions on you. Most of the time, you won't even hear a judgment or a decision I've made on here unless I'm very, very passionate about it. So, the internet is a horrible place when it comes to people degrading other people. And these two women, and as far as we know, and again, I told you earlier in the episode I was going to contradict myself, right? And here comes that contradiction. Earlier in the episode, I said the IOC is one of the most corrupt organizations ever, and they are. But believe me, there are more corrupt organizations. And the IOC has come out and said both of these boxers have birth certificates that say they were born female, they grew up female, they've always competed female, and nothing has changed since then. But a bunch of people ran to the internet. Oh, these are men and women boxing, and we can't have this, so much so that it got up to J.K. Rowling, and she's making her, which she's one of the worst, not worst people in terms of her opinions. I don't care about that. She can have whatever opinion she wants. I mean, in terms of running to the internet and saying things as quickly as possible. Anything like this happens, she's on the internet in like 2.5 seconds saying something, and she hasn't even heard the whole story. So in a situation like this, where now it turns out that she could be incorrect, and again, I'm just giving you both sides of the story, and I'm giving you the facts that I know and the facts that have come out. But not all the facts have come out in this case. So I'm going to give you both sides because we still don't actually know, right, what is true. We can assert or we can assume, or and you will make your own decision once I give you these facts. But these are the facts. The IOC, even though I said they were corrupt, they say they were born, their birth certificates are female, they've always competed female, there's been no gender transitions, anything like that. The organization that said this, by the way, the International Boxing Association, and here's where it comes in, that remember I said some organizations are more corrupt than others? Watch this. The International Boxing Association is, the managing director and president is Russian. And who lost to these two women boxers in that initial IBA, the initial IBA tournament they had a couple years ago when they were disqualified from competing against females? Guess what? These two boxers, they beat Russian fighters. So, okay, let's back up a little bit. And again, I'm not making any judgments or decisions, but you're telling me that these, and as far as we know, they're women, were born women with female birth certificates, always competed as females, were raised female, have had no conclusive evidence that they have any transition of gender at all or anything like that. These women, as far as we know, right, went into a competition against Russian fighters, beat Russian fighters, and then the president of the organization, who is also Russian, then comes in and disqualifies them for some unspecified, because it still hasn't come out what that test was, unspecified test that proved that they were not, or they did not their gender specificity could not be confirmed, so they could not compete against females. Those are the facts. You make your own judgment, but those are the facts. The facts are, from the IOC side, these are women that were born women and have always been women. From the IBA side, we know that that's a Russian-run federation. Russian fighters were defeated, and only after the Russian fighters were defeated were these other two women disqualified. Again, do I know if they're actually women or not? No, I do not. I haven't seen the birth certificates. I can only tell you what both sides are saying and what both sides are coming from. And I gave you the facts from both sides. And I let you make your own judgment and decision. But I know what I'm asserting in my head from what I've heard. I know what I think because I know that the IOC is very corrupt. But I also know from my time in many various different positions in my life that the Russians are not the Russian people. I will not pretend to put this on their people. I am sure a lot of their people are very kind, nice people. And I've heard good things. But in terms of their government, in terms of the Russian oligarchy, in terms of all of that, the Russian billionaires and aristocrats that run that place, no, they're all way more corrupt than the IOC. So, right? We're weighing it's the judge's scales, right? We got to weigh what we know. And I know a lot more about Russian corruption than I do much other corruption, unless you're talking about the Chinese government and the other aristocrats. Again, not the Chinese people. Love my Chinese people, my Russian people. This is not about y'all. This is about your governments and all that stuff. So there's more to come out about this. We'll find out more. But the thing that really blows my mind is how people can just run and talk shit on the internet without having the right research, without having the right information. It takes me weeks to do these shows. I purposely come on after everybody else has said their piece so I can listen to everybody else and hear what they have to say and do my own research and do diligent research with sources that I can cite because I keep them in my documents. A lot of people don't do that. And they just run to the internet and use it and make it a cesspool that it is because of people like that. So if you're going to use the internet, be responsible. I know there's going to be trolls. I get it. There's trolls everywhere. But if you actually want to be a responsible human being that is not making other people's lives a miserable hell because you want to put things out into the universe that may or may not be true, then make sure you do your research. Stop popping off at the mouth too soon. Don't run to the internet and want to be the first to talk shit or the first to report a story if you don't know what's really going on. And that's blowing my mind. Now, digging deeper into that, not blowing my mind, but being the professor, I need to give you solutions-oriented, solutions. You know what I mean? So what can we do in this situation? Because this is not going to get any easier, the conversation. And we have to address this head on right now. Because, again, I mean, as we see with the Olympic opening ceremonies, or as we see with the conservatives and a lot of their, criticisms of the LGBT community and things that they do, well, transgenderism is happening. There's no going back from that. Whether or not you agree with it, whether or not you think children should be exposed to those sorts of things, which I do not believe that children should be exposed to any of those sorts of things. I believe that should be up to the parent to decide when a child is exposed to whatever it is they're exposed to, which is why I try not to even curse around children, because I believe that should be up to the parent to decide when they learn that. And I curse pretty much every other word that I speak, not on camera, obviously, but if I'm in my house, you probably hear me curse a lot more. So I don't think that children should be subjected to things that other people are trying to, I don't want to use the word indoctrinate, which a lot of people use these days, but pushing your agenda. Everybody has an agenda they want to push. Sure, we get it, right? But don't be so pushy. Don't push. Even me, like, I'm Christian and I want people to know the love of Jesus, but I'm not just going to go up to them and be like, hey, you should know Jesus and you should love Jesus. No, I'm not going to push that on you. That's not what people should do. Right? we should all want to learn and live and love each other as our neighbor, as the friends, as human beings that we are. We should want to lift each other up and not bring each other down. But most people, not most people, I shouldn't say that. Most people inherently are actually good. But there are a lot of assholes out there. There are a lot of people out there that are just horrible people. And just don't be that person is what I'm trying to say. But there are some things that we are going to talk about that are going to turn people into those sorts of things because of this, the opinions that they may or may not have about this sort of thing. So what I'm saying now is that we have to figure out a solution. And the solution for this, at least the initial solution that we can all work with, is that we have to have a transgender category when it comes to athletics, when it comes to sports. If you want to be a transitioning athlete, a person who is transitioning from male to female or vice versa, there needs to be a middle division. And I don't know exactly how they would figure that out, right? Because then you got to look at, when it comes to fighting sports and things like that, then you got to look at weight classes and all that other stuff. It's going to be very hard. It's not a nuance. It's going to be a very detailed but very nuanced discussion. But that's at least a starting point, is a middle division where anyone who is transitioning can compete against other transitioning people. But one thing that cannot happen is we cannot have males who are transitioning to females be competing against other females in female sports. It's just not right. It's not even fair. Okay. Yes, we don't want to. Yes, we want equality. Yes, I want women to be equal. I love women's equality. I love women's rights. I love that, we're more progressive now than we've ever been. I mean, at least, back in the day, women couldn't even vote at one point, which is ridiculous to me, that men would think that they can subjugate themselves to be that much more important than women. But that's another subject for another day. That's unacceptable because men are more physically, and this is not across the scale, obviously, if you're going to put Clarissa Shields in against that asshole Thomas Michael Crooks that tried to assassinate former President Trump. Yeah, Clarissa Shields going to beat the hell out of his ass. So, yeah, there are obviously outliers to this, but for the main majority of the population, when it comes to you putting a group of males and a group of females in a competitive sport or in something where physical traits are necessary to complete the task, it's just inherent that most of the time the men are going to be stronger and faster. Just is. Not saying smarter. I'm not saying it's always true, but for the majority, that is the case. So you cannot have men transitioning into female be playing against females because it's not fair, because they originally had traits that, for the majority, are going to be more inherent to helping them in athletic competition. Now, if it goes the other way and you want to be a female transitioning to a male and you want to go compete against males, I'm fine with that, obviously, because you're going to be going in at most likely a disadvantage, unless, again, you're Clarissa Shields, then, hey, you're probably going to beat them up too, right? You're probably going to beat the regular man up too, right? Shout out Clarissa Shields, the quote, love her. That was not a slice against her at all, but she's just good. She's going to go in there and beat your ass. But anyways, we have to come up with a solution now, and that needs to be the initial starting point, because we cannot have these controversies keep going. Obviously, we're going to have them pop up from time to time, but if we have these, at least this initial middle category where we can place transitioning people who, again, are human beings and deserve to be treated as such, just because they made the decision that they're that they feel like they're a male stuck in a female body or vice versa, who am I to tell them that they're not, that they're wrong? I'm not going to sit here and judge you. Jesus told me not to judge anybody, so I ain't going to judge you. If that's what you decide is right for you, if you feel like you're a female stuck in a male body or a male stuck in a female body, and this is what you need to do to be happy, then by all means, please do it. But we don't need to be pushing this on our children. We don't need to be letting former males compete in female sports. Those are just two things that are non-negotiable. And that takes us all the way back to the Olympic ceremony we talked about earlier. The thing I was most pissed about, and I wasn't really mad about any of it, honestly, because again, we talked about it. Like, I believe in artistic freedom and all that good stuff. But the one thing I was actually mad about was that there was a young child in there. Couldn't have been more than, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years old. Young children should not be subjected to anything. Now, if her, and it probably was, probably one of those people where her dad or his dad or whatever, that's a bad look. That's a bad look that you just have children involved in that sort of thing. And again, it's just defeating what you're trying to get accomplished by pushing your agenda. Again, that's fine. We all deserve equal rights. It's not helping your case. And when you have a child in there, it just looks, it's a really bad look. It looks like you're trying to indoctrinate children into these sorts of things. And children should learn about things whenever their parents decide, or, whenever you go to school and you learn a curse word or something, right? It's going to happen, but it really shouldn't until parents decide it's okay. And that's what's blowing the professor's mind today. So, worldwide elections going crazy, including ours own. We can't even say that we're not turning into a second world country now, third world country now, because we are, and again, I am not here to judge anyone, to bash anyone, to discredit anyone. I support all of my friends in the LGBT community, and I have friends in that community. I support them. I support whatever you want to do. If that's the lifestyle you choose, please, by all means, go ahead and do it. And actually, anything you want to do in this life, go ahead and do it, as long as you're not hurting other people. And believe me, we all do hurtful things. I've done hurtful things. But just try your best not to hurt other people and to judge only yourself and keep only to yourself. And maybe we'd be a lot better off than we are right now. Just think about it, family. If we just love and live in better harmony, we wouldn't have all these issues. And we could all just, I know. Omar, you're a hopeless romantic, a utopian lover, and it's never going to happen. And I know, but that's okay. I can always wish. And as we all wish, I like to end these episodes on positive notes, because I want to send you all into the universe with positivity and love and joy. So let's talk about a couple positive stories that came out, since I am an artist. I am a musician and an artiste, as they say, and I do respect the artistic freedom. I want to talk about a couple musicians here lately that have done some pretty cool things. So first of all, and the most important here and connected to the Olympics, is Flavor Flav, former Public Enemy frontman, hype man, and now niche sport hero, has become the official sponsor and hype man for the U.S. women's water polo team. So what happened? The water polo teams obviously don't get a lot of support, don't get a lot of monetary support at all either. Underappreciated, undersupported, not fully funded. So now a lot of these athletes have been having to have second and third jobs aside from the water polo team, because they don't have enough money to survive. What happens? They're floundering. We don't know what's going to happen. They're asking for additional support. The coaches on Instagram asking for help. Flavor Flav comes along, signs a 5-year sponsorship deal with the women's and men's water polo team to elevate the visibility and the excitement. The financial terms are not yet public, but he's been constantly promoting them. He's there at the Olympics promoting them. And this is the feel-good story we need. Flavor Flav coming through with money that he made from a hip-hop career, which most people would have said was BS back in the day. But look at that, hip-hop doing good in the world. Shout out to that man, Flavor Flav, supporting the water polo team. I love that. Second positive note, another musician, I guess you can't call him hip-hop. He's more pop at this point. He's always been pop, I guess. I guess he was a little bit of hip-hop when he first started. Pitbull just came out this morning that Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide, Mr. 305, pretty much everywhere on your radio, has now purchased the naming rights for FIU's football stadium. Yes, Florida International University. I didn't even know it's possible you could purchase a stadium's naming rights, but he has at the very cheap cost of $1.2 million annually for 5 years. It's only $6 million. It's not, I mean, shit. I want to name a stadium after, once I get my first $6 million, I'm going to go name a stadium after me. But anyways, he will also be able to use the stadium 10 times a year for concerts. He'll have 2 boxes at all home games, but he will also have to promote, including multiple shows and 10 social media posts every year for the university. So what a beautiful, harmonious relationship that is as well. And, you know, again, I love ending on positive notes. And so that, my friends, is how we are going to end today's episode. I really appreciate you tuning in today. What an explosive episode. I'm already sure that I'm going to get a bunch of trolls, a bunch of comments. Hopefully I don't get, canceled, assassinated. Hopefully they don't come after me, the Russian and Chinese governments. But you know what? If they do, fuck them. That being said, thank you to Flo tuning in with the comments. You came through with all those wonderful comments, making me think a little bit more insightful, making me, bring a little more in nuanced and detailed conversation so that we could think about things. And that's how we got to do it, right? We got to conversate just like me and Flo did, keeping the love, but as well having differences of opinions. And again, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I don't have one side or the other that I'm cheering for. I'm just giving you facts and the deal from both sides of the stories. But I can, at least rebut his conservative viewpoints and talking points, because I do watch both sides of the aisle, because I do pay attention to any story. I pay attention to both sides. And that's what this show is all about, is about bringing you research of both sides of all of these controversial and crazy topics that we talk about on this show. And I appreciate y'all. Again, please subscribe at Ball and Buds on YouTube.